At the 1884 Berlin Conference, the Western countries agreed to some ground rules for dividing up the continent of Africa. They approved that Italy should conquer Ethiopia and become their colony. Thanks to the brilliant and courageous act of Emperor Menelik II, Ethiopia managed to successfully resist colonization and maintain its independence while much of Africa was falling to invasion. Born in 1844, Menelik ruled the Shewa region of central Ethiopia. At the time, Ethiopia was divided into domains, each ruled by a prince. Soon after, he succeeded Emperor Johannes in 1889. The Battle of Adwa started when Italians became very interested in the southern part of Ethiopia. At around 1869, Suez Canal had influenced commercial activities in the better part of the Red Sea. Trading was the order of the day, and Ethiopia was the largest beneficiary. Italy wanted power over Suez Canal, and their solution was to colonize Ethiopia. In 1885, Italy started making moves of accessing the Suez Canal and succeeded at first by taking the port of Massawa after several attempts. As they were advancing towards the northern part, Ethiopians defeated them, but Italy never gave up. By 1890, they had taken over Eritrea and established a capital in Asmara. In 1894, the ruler of Tigray initiated a battle between them and Italy, but they were not lucky. Italy won and established its foundations in Tigray and Agame provinces. The Ethiopians in those provinces in no way accepted to be under Italians' rule. The Italians celebrated their early victory, and General Baratieri of Italy was termed as a hero. Italy's efforts for taking over Suez Canal in Ethiopia started bearing fruits. During his rise to power, the Italians allied with Menelik and began supplying Ethiopia with weapons in hopes that Menelik would eventually surrender his power to them. It was at this period Italy made a treaty between them and Ethiopia, the Treaty of Uchale. The treaty was written in 2 languages. Later, Emperor Menelik discovered that the treaty he had and the one Italy had was different. The Italians' treaty stated that Ethiopia would be a protectorate of Italy. Menelik was not in agreement with that treaty and decided to resist. Menelik organized what was estimated to surpass 100,000 soldiers all over Ethiopia. He gathered thousands of people and made a speech that inspired everyone in the country to go out and fight for their land and freedom. He said that anyone capable of fighting to present themselves and the rest to join hands and pray for the country. He created food depots in all major towns in Ethiopia for the soldiers and stayed calm, waiting for the right time for the battle. Before the D-Day in December 1895, Italians and Ethiopians had engaged in a battle where Ethiopian soldiers knocked down the Italian army at Amba Alagi. They also had a second encounter in Mekelle, where Italians were stuck behind a fort for about 2 weeks. General Baratieri planned an undercover move at night, making Ethiopian soldiers be at the mercies of Italians. The night of February 29, 1896, the Italians made their undercover moves and were already established in Ethiopia by morning. The Italian action invited an attack. The Italian troops were separated into brigades that attacked different points in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian soldiers were adamant about defeating the Italians. The 1st Brigade was outnumbered by the Ethiopian, which led to their defeat. The 2nd Brigade, which was sent to cover the first one, that got confused and separated. Ethiopian soldiers successfully defeated all the troops and the main force of the Italians by the afternoon of March 1, 1896. The Italian army panicked and escaped into Eritrea. The war resulted in the death of Italian and Ethiopian soldiers, but Italy suffered a greater war. About 6,000 Italians were dead, 15,000 injured, and 3,000 captured. About 4,000 Ethiopians died, and 8,000 were injured. This marked the first time that an African army had definitively defeated a European army. Along with being a brilliant strategist on the battlefield, Menelik modernized and reformed Ethiopia by hiring Europeans to plan modern roads and bridges, built the first ever railway that linked the capital he founded, Addis Ababa, to Djibouti, introduced electricity and telephone service, and most surprisingly, he was the first ever African to drive a car in 1907.